Learn to be super successful. Subscribe to my channel, Meathead.
What else about Steve? Again, go ahead. Correct. I mean, Winston Churchill, who was one of the great orators, stuttered. Story about stuttering. When I was running around making 5, 8 presentations a day, raising money even if we didn't need it, Baring Brothers, the great old investment bank from, 1650 or whatever, was one of our major shareholders, along with the Bank of England, the Church of England, the Kuwaitis, etc. And if the big hitter was going to be at the presentation, I used to go give it myself. So I'm informed Lord Baring was going to be there himself. So we went to and this is before Baring Brothers got fucked up and they lost 7 billion pounds in one day and they sold the company for $1 or €1 or something. So I'm making the presentation, and this is in the flip chart days. And I give the presentation, and in those days, the presentation would start at 1. I went to about 2, answer questions to 2:30, and then we'd have lunch, big lunches, pork, all kinds of shit, cigars, and then you used to go for a nap after lunch. The European style is when you have a guest, especially an important guest, which I was perceived to be, you'd walk him to the elevator, walk him to the lift. So Lord Baring and I are walking down this hall about as long as this room is, all the way to the other end. And on both sides, they've got Van Goghs and Renoir paintings, and tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions. No security, no nothing. So as we get to the lift, and I back into the lift, like a Alfred Hitchcock movie, here's the doors, and I back in. I said, just as I'm backing in, I said, Lord Baring, is there anything that I can do to make my presentation more succinct, etc.? And he leaned into the elevator and says, Mr. Peña, learn how to stutter. And then the elevator closed. So the elevator's going down from the 8th or 9th floor, and I'm saying, what the fuck's this old fuck thing learn how to stutter? And what he was saying is I was too slick. And I was a slick cocksucker. 5 months later, I'm back, like selling pencils again with my hand out, looking for money. And I started, and Peter Gunn, who was the chief investment officer, and they were all there. And they used to bring in a lot of juniors because I was considered entertainment. Because I was a world-class speaker, and I was going to, and I could more or less prognosticate the future as top of markets, etc. So I started a presentation, Lord Baring, and everybody just roars. And then Gunn, chief investment officer, stood up and says, we're going to take up our rights. That means they're going to take up their portion of the shit I'm selling. Whatever I was peddling at the time. It might have been preferred shares at that time in my career. And so then we went off to lunch and got fucked up like normal. But I was too slick. That won't be your problem, kids. There's nobody in this room that's even remotely too slick. And yet I practiced. For every hour I'm in front of you, I practiced at least an hour before you got here. If I'm practicing, so I practiced 50, 60 hours before the seminar started. And I can give this cocksucker in a coma. Nobody has ever practiced even a fraction of how I practice currently. How serious are you? Especially when one of your deficiencies is communication. There's a reason why I say improv. There's a reason why I say Toastmasters. There's a reason of which Peter did, of which Andres did, of which Marcus did. And to this now, give them the benefit of the doubt, English is not their primary language. But they practice. If you guys don't practice your craft, you're either going to be in the 7, 8, 9, 10-year program, which you wasted your time and money coming here, or you're going to fail, and then go on Reddit and say QLA doesn't work. I've yet to read to anybody, because I've asked my staff, has anybody ever just say, I was just a lazy cunt and that's why it didn't work? No. To date, nobody just says, I'm a miserable piece of shit, lazy cunt, like Peña said, and that's why QLA didn't work for me. It's just that QLA doesn't work. QLA doesn't work. Anything else about Steve? So far, the icons that we listen to, none of them know really very much, if anything, about the industry they're in. At least half of you that I've talked to so far one-on-one have asked me, either directly or indirectly, should I stick to my knitting and something I know, or should I venture outside? Why do you all ask me that? One, if you read the site, the answer is healthcare. Because you would rather stick to your knitting because you figure, and wrongfully so, you figure that you'll have a less chance of embarrassing yourself. That's the only reason you ask me. It's not because you think you can get it done quicker. You think you can make less mistakes. You still don't believe I didn't know a motherfucking thing about oil and gas. And when oil was the first, back in the early 80s, when oil went from $41 a barrel down to $6 a barrel. And I got into the oil business when oil was $40 a barrel. My timing was less than auspicious. And 10,000 energy companies went out of business. We were the fastest growing in the world. The American Petroleum Institute, amongst other august bodies, asked me to go make speeches to tell everybody how the world wasn't ending. I wouldn't do that now, but I did then. And so, because I thought I'd hook and get suck some big companies or countries, and I stuck countries into our Venus flash trap. And so I was going to give a speech in Houston to the American Petroleum Institute, and our head engineer, Jimmy, a plane got caught in a storm, and so I said, it's 400 people, 500 people, I'll give the fucking presentation. So I'm up in this room like this, and some flip charts, and I'm going through seismic and geology and shit. And about halfway, 2/3 through the speech, Jimmy shows up, and I see him in the back of the room. And I've just got to the flip chart where we're showing that our Landsat, our satellites in the sky, which didn't mean a fucking thing, has spotted the indications of hydrocarbons. Okay. Means nothing. At the time, it was hot shit, though. It was cutting edge. So I go through this presentation, and he's going like this in the back of the room. Like in a football or some giving hand signals. I know what the fuck he's doing. And so I finish my presentation, and I get a standing ovation. But now the real geophysicist guys are getting closer and closer because they want to ask more questions from the back. And Jimmy takes me by the arm and says, Dan, we got to go. We're late. I said, what? We got to go. And so, because he was afraid, because when they started asking hard questions, I didn't know what I was talking about. Well, I gave the presentation with the flip charts upside down. So we had some of the best geophysicists, geologists, exploration engineers on the planet. And I gave the fucking presentation with the flip charts upside down. And it's not that they didn't notice. It wasn't because they were being polite that they didn't want to embarrass me. But I practiced the fucking thing so many times, I sounded like it should make sense. Half the people I sold in my heyday didn't know what the fuck they bought. 3/4 of the people I sold just wanted to be on the same fucking bus with me. because I sounded, looked, and like a winner. You're not going to get anybody on your fucking bus because I practiced. I didn't know oil and gas came up the same fucking hole. That's why he's going like this. I thought oil and gas came up separate holes. I now know they come up and there's a separator at the top of the fucking hole that separates depending on the viscosity and the API. And I'd already raised $1 billion, $1.5 billion and given 400 or 500 presentations. You wouldn't do that. Now Marcus knows construction. Now, arguably, Peter knows something about hospitals. But it's not required. When Steve bought the Clippers, Los Angeles Clippers, the basketball team, for $2.2 billion, which is about $600 million more, and he fucked up the whole market. And he's known as, he can't keep his thumb out of the ass of the deal. Everybody thought he was going to fuck up basketball. But to date, he bought it about 3 or 4 years ago. He has not had one negative comment about his basketball ownership. And I'm sure it's been hard for him. I mean, he's got an opinion about everything. Success leaves clues, guys. Success leaves clues. It's hard to find an alpha male high performance. Bless you. It's hard to find an alpha male high performance person because not many of us. They're all like little weenies like you. And even though I tell you that, you don't believe me. You will be scared to death the first presentation you make. And what's ever beyond death, whatever, I don't know what's beyond death. If you don't give the presentation 200, 300, 400 times before you give it, it's going to be an embarrassing, sad motherfucking day for you. And just remember, if I practice, what should you be doing? Anything else about Steve? Yes, sir.
For him, the most important part to know was how to hire and fire people.
Correct. Some people in this room have never fired anybody. The ones that are 18, 20, I can understand that. But you better learn how to. Anything else about Steve? Yes, sir.
If you're going to do a job, go all in, commit completely. He called Microsoft his fourth child. And the other thing I took away from that was, because you're putting so much effort into your work, you need to honor the time that you spend with your family as well as the time you spend with your work, so that, when you're away from your family, it's for a reason. And then when you're with your family, that time counts.
Well, I'm the wrong one to try to sell that to, because I don't believe that they say quality time, kids can tell quality. That's a lie. It was invented by some parent. Kids want to be with you all the time. And this quality time thing is a load of cock. For those of you that try to convince yourself of that, I'll match my results with my kids, no time, against the results you have for. It's what the kids do, what they see you do, not what the fuck you tell them to do. Our kids know since they're little. I'm a super high performance person, alpha male. And when I say I'm going to get something fucking done, short of my death, it gets fucking done. If I say I'm going to bankrupt your company, I'm going to kill your goldfish, I'm going to take your grandparents' house away, I mean it. And then I do it. Most parents just flap their lips. If you do that one more time, Johnny, I'm going to... My mother used to say, I want you to do this. No, I'm not going to do it. I was pulling my report card out from when I tried to kill the guy. We'll talk about this later, from the 4th, 5th grade. Unsatisfactory, 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 double unsatisfactory, unsatisfactory, unsatisfactory. D. Now, some of you can relate to that. But my mom would say, well, where are you going? I'm going to call your father. Wait, mom. Could you tell me exactly what you want me to do again? Fuck, that's the last thing I wanted. That fucking beast. And she never even had his phone number. I didn't know that then. But she says, your dad will be home in a couple of weeks, more or less, and I'm going to have to get him involved. And god damn. And when my dad got home, if I had been beaten by the priests and the nuns, he beat me again. And all the times I got spanked and beaten, I should have been 1,000 times more. Those are the times I got caught. But I got pretty slick at not being caught. But she kept me accountable through fear. And it's a shitty way to run a railroad, but it works. It's an extremely bad way to run a railroad. But getting back to quality time versus time, it's like little kids want to, unless baby is shit its diapers, kids are happy, slappy. Then when they get past the shitting the diaper stage, till they're 6 or 7, they're just happy. You can't hardly find a little kid that's not smiling and laughing. Self-esteem is built the first 7 or 8 years. And then the parents, like the Chinese water treatment, wear them down and show them how life shouldn't be based on their insecurities. The little kids that are building self-esteem don't understand a lot of what you say or what you do. You hug them and okay. I didn't hug anybody, but anyway. Nobody hugged me. My dad told me when he was 88 years old, for the first time, he loved me. That's it. So, my dissertation on your kids will judge you by what the fuck you do and what you accomplish, not that you took them on a fucking picnic. And if you're so fucking stupid, how much quality time do you think Donald spends with Barron Trump? None. I'm told the kid's a little shark, a little animal. I have no data to show that. But, and even though his kids seem to be, his older adult kids seem to be entitled, because they're pretty effective business people. But you spend no time with them. But when you got somebody like that as a dad, and then and some of the lesser icons have not had the same results with their children. Anything else? Oh, I already said that. Okay. Thank you, you two.